Hey guys, today we're looking at one of these fake GTX 960 cards that seem to be flooding eBay. Type in GTX 960 sort by price plus postage and you will find a ton of listings, all what appears to be the same picture. Some sellers even add an Australian flag to appear more legit, but they're all coming out of China. Now I knew that this card is not a real GTX 960, but I wanted to take a closer look to see what is it that we're actually getting and are we able to flash it back to its original state. Get the money back basically through the eBay process and basically get a free retro graphics card. So this GTX 960 is joining the other fake card I purchased recently. Here we have the GTX 750 Ti. Now the 750 Ti turned out to be a GTX 550 Ti, which got modified to appear as a 750 Ti. Our GTX 960 is a little bit more interesting as it comes advertised with 4 GB of video memory, and when you turn on the computer we do get a lovely BIOS screen telling us we have a GTX 960 with 4 GB of GDDR5, but the copyright date of 2011 seems a little bit off. In Windows, looking at the GPU Z information, we can see further evidence that something isn't quite right. On the left side we've got a real GTX 960 and on the right our fake one. Whereas the real one comes with 1024 CUDA cores, our fake one has only got 192. We also only have 12 texture mapping units compared to 64 on the real one. So let's run some benchmarks with our fake cards. In 3D Mark 06 we can see that the fake 960 is actually behind our fake 750 Ti, which is actually a real 550 Ti. We can see the same thing in Crysis. So I think it's time to take the cooler off and find out what GPU we are actually dealing with. Look at that, it's a GF116200, which is a Fermi GPU from 2011. Remember the copyright date on the BIOS message? A GTX 450 is what we have here. So that matches with the performance figures being a little bit behind the GTX 550 Ti. As for the RAM, there are 4 memory chips on the card. They come from Hynix, and looking at the model number on the datasheet, each module has 2 gigabits of memory. So 2 gigabits, not 2 gigabytes. So 4 chips, that makes 8 gigabits divided by 8 to convert to bytes. And we have 1 gigabyte of memory. So the amount of video RAM is also fake. So now that we know what we're dealing with, a GTX 450 is actually a pretty decent retro card for Windows XP gaming, for example. So something I wanted to try out is seeing if a GTX 450 driver that does not support the GTX 960 will install. So here we are in Windows XP and armed with an older NVIDIA driver. We can clearly see that the GTX 450 and also the GTX 550 Ti are supported. Unfortunately, the driver will not install. Which kind of makes sense because to Windows and to the drivers, the card really appears to be a GTX 960. So this brings 2 issues. Firstly, we can't use older period correct drivers with this card, but can only use drivers that support the GTX 960. Secondly, and much worse, if the driver thinks this is a 960, well, the 960 is based on the Maxwell architecture, but the GTX 450 is based on Fermi. So you can see the dilemma. If the driver really thinks that this is a GTX 960, then you could run into all sorts of render errors or glitches in games. So my last ditch effort was to check out BIOS flashing. Now I had little hopes, as even back in the GeForce 2 days, flashing the BIOS wouldn't change the card ID, which is really what the driver actually looks for. But I didn't even get that far. I was able to save a copy of the BIOS in CPU Z, but attempting to do anything with NV Flash resulted in the same error message that you can see on the screen. So there you have it. The fake GTX 960 turned out to be a GTX 450. Unfortunately, it is also incompatible with the GTX 450 drivers, so it will use the Maxwell drivers on a Fermi card, which can cause all sorts of issues. I wasn't able to flash it back to a GTX 450 and turn it into a nice little retro card. I do wonder why they don't just sell these cards as a legit GTX 750 or GTX 450 cards, lower the price a little bit, and I'm sure people would actually go for it. Anyway guys, that's it for this video. As always, if it's too good to be true, then it probably is. If you see such a fake card on eBay, you can report it, although I've done this a few times and the listings are still there. So yeah, if you've got any tips for the BIOS flashing, do let me know, and any other comments, just leave them down below. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you soon with another one.